Everyone, and welcome back to Finding Flow, the podcast where we dive into the stories, strategies, and mindsets behind extraordinary people doing meaningful work. I'm your host, Carl McDonald, and today we're joined by a powerhouse in the B2B sales and MarTech world, Lewis Vasper. Lewis is currently the VP of Sales at Infinity, a leading call intelligence platform that's transforming how businesses use call data to drive better marketing and sales results. Before Infinity, he helped scale teams at Q, Call 360, and was also a co-founder of Project Print. Whether he's helping marketers use AI smarter or driving a 300% increase in sales calls through strategic campaigns, Lewis knows how to build high-impact sales engines. So we're going to be diving into his personal journey, the lessons learned from building in fast-paced environments, and how he finds flow both professionally and personally. Let's get into it. Welcome, Lewis. It's great to have you on the show.
Pleasure. Thank you. That was some intro. That was good. Yeah, it's good to be here.
Yeah, it's great. It's really great to have you. Lewis, take us back. How did your career in sales start? Was it intentional, or did you sort of fall into it like so many of us do?
Yeah, like most of us. No, I absolutely fell into it. I fell into it quickly. So I studied graphic design at school. I did a college course at school, and then went on to do almost like a level three, level four, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Graphic design, loved it. Like I had a whole plan mapped out. I was going to be a creative director. That was the mission. Got a
Mhm.
role at an app as a graphic designer, and yeah, within 3 to 6 months realized that it was cool, but I probably just appreciated it more studying rather than real world. But what I loved was talking to the sponsors. So we were one of the first apps at G0 to
Mhm.
monetize a free app. We sell a little advertising blocks at the bottom. I just used to make the little blocks basically when I first
Yeah.
started. But what I loved was talking to the brands that we worked with. So we'd have Adidas come in, we'd have Sainsbury's come in, we might
Mhm.
have Volkswagen come in, and it was about closing them on that little space on the
Yeah.
ad. And we were a true startup. So if you were good at something, you did it. And I think that's one of my sort of lucky pieces. Starting in that real startup environment, you don't really get used to any sort of norms of working. You just get the job done. Just figure out how to get it done.
Uh,
And kind of from there, my role there became a little bit more about, yes, I would still manage the brand and the graphics, but it was actually about, right, if you can go and sell, go to the events, sit around the boardroom, get the people to spend the money so we can keep paying salary. And that was every month we need to lock that space to pay our salary. And I just loved the hustle. And then from there, just kind of, yeah, straight into sales. I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
Amazing, amazing starts. And you've worked across SaaS, CPaaS, and even co-founded your own business. So, what were the biggest mindset shifts that you had to make moving between these different types of roles?
So I got very lucky when I moved from G0. I moved to a property investment company. So I met
Okay.
a very successful property investor who was also a business coach, and he wanted to launch almost like a blend of the two. He wanted to launch a property investment mentoring, essentially, which is one of the hardest things I've ever had to sell because people assume it's a
Yeah.
scam immediately. But
Mm.
part of our deal was essentially I got his business coaching, which was like 10 grand a month people would pay. And as part of I didn't have a salary, I got paid a percent of what I sold. And also I got this coaching. And that was probably, if I was going to pick a moment where like the pinpoint lever that not changed things, because it was all
Mm.
good when I was sort of 18 at G0, but that really kind of set me up. It was that time, and that the focus on personal growth and business growth and that mentality shift of kind of that self improvement when I was 18, kind of listening to those podcasts and those books and then getting the coaching.
Mm.
That really gave me a platform to kind of go and build on, and really start to just I loved that stuff from day one anyway. So he taught me about personality profiling and just understanding the importance of knowing who you're talking to and how they want to be interacted with. It's gold dust. I teach my
Mm.
senior AEs that every single time I join a new business. So that for me was kind of that approach, and it gave me that belief. Seeing two different people launch and grow a business, completely different. One's an app, one's a property investment business,
Mm.
kind of seeing a lot of similar mentalities and realizing that I don't have a belief that you need to be an industry expert. I don't think you need to be a MarTech expert to go in and build a strong sales team. I think you need to be able to teach people the fundamentals of sales and revenue growth. And I was very lucky to kind of realize that early on. And early on, it wasn't about leading big teams. It was about actually getting in there and doing the job, driving
Mm.
driving that business. And again, I just learned very quickly that it was actually hard work, not some skill set that was hidden behind a university degree or reading 1,000 books. It was I just used to outwork everyone 4 times and see the results come off the back of it.
Yeah, I suppose putting in the work is really the best way to learn and build
Absolutely.
those skill sets. 100%.
Yeah, I couldn't
And
agree more. Yeah.
you've led a sales at multiple high growth companies. What would you say is your blueprint for building a great sales team from scratch?
Oh, I think that's a good question. So I think that there is from scratch, and then there is when you sort of step into
Yeah.
at Infinity. Of course, we already had that sales structure in place, but ultimately, and the beauty for me is, I'm fairly young, so I wouldn't say that I have like my repeatable motion in place, but what I do have are my pillars that I will focus on, and almost underpinning all of those pillars where I'll put focus is a really simple methodology of sales is more basic than people want it to be. It's uncomfortable for some people how basic sales can be, even in a
Mm,
complex setting, because it means that we kind of need to face the fact that, again, if I were to just outwork you three, four times, but you had an increased skill set, I'm probably going to win. If I just
mm,
do the fundamentals well and a lot, do I need to have the perfect cold call and do 50 a day? Or should I just pick the phone up 300 times today, work a 12 to 15-hour day? If I don't have the knowledge of the industry in the space and just absolutely batter their phones, I stand a very good
yeah.
chance of booking those meetings. And the more meetings I run, the more chance I've got of revenue flowing through. So my message when I joined Infinity and any other business is I have a very simple methodology to sales.
Mm,
People like to read Medic and Spiced and Challenger, and they're
mhm.
all fundamentally the same thing of understanding that if you absolutely nail discovery and just have a conversation and come to understand, one, why are we talking and what is the true problem that you've got, and can I solve it? I don't want to trick you into selling it. I want to make sure that I can actually help, and I need to understand and help you kind of take you through that process. It shouldn't be overly complex. So
Yeah.
that's my fundamental sort of messaging to any team is that I focus heavily on our input. We are going to do the work. We have daily KPIs. We have daily stand-ups. We're going to hold
Yeah.
ourselves accountable. We're going to have that sort of that that winner's mentality that if we come up short, we are above the line. We're not below the line because everybody else has
Mm,
fallen. It's above the line. Okay, was it because of a shortfall in the product? Maybe, but how could we have managed that better? We're gonna be accountable. We're gonna hold ourselves accountable when we come up short, and we're gonna celebrate when we win. Really, really simple fundamentals of sales that become scalable.
100%. Yeah, I suppose that doing the basics, also doing those numbers consistently, like over time, it really builds up. So, I think yeah, the basics probably the most important things.
Yeah, and I think sometimes there's almost like a view of, I suppose that goes without saying, right? If we're not picking the phone up, then we're never gonna book the meetings. But I find, especially in tech sales, both
Yeah.
operators, leaders, even right up to your CEOs, we like to sometimes hide behind like it's more complex than we want it to be. Whereas actually, again,
Mm,
it's about consistency. So again, doing 100 calls today is
yeah.
great. You need to do 100 calls every single day for years.
Mm,
That's how we're going to grow
yeah.
a business that scales. It's not about having one good week. It's about the consistent input
Yeah.
of those basics. People like to build really complex sales processes and decks. And actually, some of the
Mm,
largest deals I and my teams have closed is about joining and having a conversation like we are now. I'm not in a rush. I
yeah.
wouldn't be in a rush to demo to get you a presentation. I want to go, okay, Carl, like, why are we here? Like, how can I help?
Yeah.
What's the reason that we're talking? And in our instance,
Mm,
that might be, well, I have an absolute black hole in my marketing spend. I don't know where it's going. I don't know what's working. Okay, cool. Well, then
mm,
I'm starting to build a picture of I might be able to help. I don't need to get into a presentation. I need to keep talking and keep developing, keep learning. And it's about, I find a lot of the sellers that I work with now, especially after you sort of your 2020, 2021, when it all got quite easy, after COVID, there was an
yeah.
influx of cash. It's about almost taking, again, back to those basics. A lot of people have moved into tech sales, and then there's a lot of influence online kind of saying,
Yeah.
like, again, how it's really complex and they need to be these elites. And it's actually, if you look at the elites, what do they do very well? Well, they're very consistent with their high level of basic input.
Yeah, totally. I don't know if you've read the book Atomic Habits,
I
but
have read the book Atomic Habits. Yeah,
it's basically all about what you're saying. It's like it's so powerful to just be doing the basics, but consistently over time. It
absolutely.
completely beats doing a sprint, like doing a lot of numbers, but then stopping. It's like improving 1%
Absolutely.
every day, 1% every day. Over time, that really, really accumulates and adds up. So I think it's fantastic what you're saying, and
Absolutely.
totally makes sense.
I have never had a top rep in any business, any environment, and also when I've then been the rep that is driving the business, I've never had success. but mainly the top reps. I have never had a top rep who doesn't do the basic, drive their own pipeline. You will very seldom. It might be a specific business, maybe a bit more of an enterprise environment, potentially at those slightly larger businesses. But in your startup, your scale up, I've never had a top rep who doesn't drive at least half, if not more, of their own pipeline. And it comes back to those daily consistent inputs. They are picking the phone up. They are sending the LinkedIn messages. They are doing the research. They're understanding the product and not reliant on their SDRs. They're inbound their marketing, of which I keep looking to the right. My whole sales and marketing team are to my right, so I keep looking at the team.
Okay, yeah.
We have a phenomenal marketing team, a phenomenal SDR team. That's
Yeah,
great. It's all over and above our AEs who then will pick the phone up
mhm,
and they will book their own meetings and they will drive their own pipeline. That daily
yeah,
input leads to the guys that are, we had over half our team in accelerators last year, but they're all focusing on those basics as well, driving their own
yeah.
pipeline. And they're just, again, it's like you say, it's that 1%.
Yeah, yeah. No, really, really good advice. And I suppose this might kind of overlap with what we've been talking about, but what would you say is the most underrated skill in sales leadership that people don't talk enough about?
Oh, that's a good question. No, I do think that yes, that it could overlap. I think if I was going to try and not just answer in the exact same way, I think that coaching is a massive. And I have done this, and so not only do I witness it and see it and hear it from reps, I've been a poor coacher, and it's not through
Hmm.
want of trying, but most sales leaders, especially sort of fairly fresh ones, even your really seasoned pros, they do not know how to coach salespeople. Even when they've been reps who've been poorly
Yeah.
coached, they still don't know how to coach salespeople. It's because they're too busy, they don't prioritize it, and there isn't an immediate kickback effect to having a great coaching session.
Hmm.
Not going to have a great coaching session and go
Yeah.
and book 100 grand, 200 grand. But and what you see a lot of sales leaders do is then they also kind of coach by doing. They do it in front of the sales rep. They take over the call, or they will. I've used Gong, I've used Jiminy. You'll kind of get those sales leaders that will jump on and try and offer as much value as possible. If we watched our 30
Hmm.
minute conversation here, I'm sure that if I got my marketing director, he could give me 50 coachable points of better things to say, better ways to word
Yeah.
that sentence.
Yeah.
And I'll read them and I'll go, yep, 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 yep. And then I'll go into my next call and I'll maybe remember one, but I'll do exactly the same thing. It's too much information, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not applicable. I can't actually do anything with it. So I would say something that is underrated, under-focused on, under-prioritized is becoming a great coach. Knowing the product, knowing how to sell, knowing how you work well. I know how I sell. Come back to the personality
Hmm.
profiling piece. I sell very differently to some of my sales guys, night and day. That doesn't make you a great coach. It might make you a great salesperson, might be a great sales leader, but
Hmm.
really becoming an expert in coaching, of which I wouldn't say I'm an expert in coaching. I'd say I'm on a constant journey to improve to be as strong a coach as possible.
Yeah.
That is definitely not focused on, I would say, by the majority. I don't want to speak for sales leaders, but a lot of them that I come across don't put the dedication into the making themselves a better
Mhm.
coach before coaching a whole team.
Yeah, I suppose it's similar as well. It's like little bits of improvement and consistency over time. Like it's
Absolutely.
not just like one amazing coaching session that changes everything.
No.
It's consistently working at it bit by bit. So
Yeah.
no, that's
And to sort of add more meat to that, I think if I look at how we coach, we have a focal point for one quarter. So you might need your
Mhm.
whole sales approach tweaking, but you're not going to do that right now. So we'll focus on one thing. That one thing might be discovery. It might be
Yeah.
controlling the conversation. It could be really granular. And we will focus on that on average for about a quarter. And all
Mhm.
we coach on. And this is how Gong does it. This is how a lot of really successful businesses do it. We will
Yeah.
focus on, let's say we're focusing on discovery. That is our focus for that quarter. And every good video, every needs improvement video, everything we do is focused around how can you improve your discovery. And we record it and we track it. And it means that even a year later, they will have a whole quarter's worth of coaching around that problem. So if they feel
Mhm.
it start to wean again, because salespeople are athletes, right? It's never done. You might throw a
Yeah.
jab great one day, and the next day it completely vanishes. You're
Mhm.
never a finished, complete
Yeah.
salesperson. You can come back to that topic and that section of coaching. Okay, I need to retween that muscle. Let me go through that quarter's worth of coaching and
Mhm.
get back into my flow. So
Yeah.
that focal point and that 1% improvement of that one area,
Mhm.
far better than going, oh, you probably should have asked this question. You probably should have said that. You should have said this. It's like, wait, I can't keep up with that.
Yeah, 100%. Uh, and how do you balance data-driven sales with intuition and human connection? How do you find that balance?
That's a good question. So, one, I have a fantastic head of RevOps at Infinity who very much helps me get the view that I like to have around my numbers. So I
Hmm.
am very data driven, but you
Yeah.
kind of said it well there. I think you do tend to find sometimes people are 100% gut or 100% numbers. I do
Yeah.
try to find a balance. I would say I lean
Hmm.
a little bit more, and maybe sometimes incorrectly, a little bit more into the gut and a little bit more of a
Hmm.
having been there, done that, and seen the process, having that feeling for what might be the better move as opposed to following the numbers. I will tend to lead to take a punt, see how it works, react
Hmm.
quickly. I couldn't be less bothered about failure. And I think that's something that
Yeah.
people get really nervous about. I am not fussed if I suggest something, rest it on my shoulders. I'm happy to be the one that gave it a go, push the team in one direction. And if it comes up short, we just react quickly. We don't need
Yeah.
to be shy about that. I'm not looking for absolute, because you can't have absolute proof in every new idea. Otherwise, you're just going to do what you've always done. And then you're going to
Mm.
grow at the rate you've always grown. And it's that
Yeah.
simple. At some point, you're going to have to take some punts,
Yeah.
especially for people in startup, in scale up. It's not been there, done that. It is absolutely, when I kind of started at Q, my previous company, the South African business, day
Mm.
one was sent a laptop, sent a phone. I had a call with one of the founders, unbelievable CRO, and it was like,
Yeah.
right, there you go. He ended the call, went off to his busy day, and it was like, oh, wow, okay, there's no numbers there, there's no data there,
Yeah.
there's no brand recognition, there's nothing. There's
Yeah.
okay, I have to start having some conversation,
Hmm.
and I'm very grateful for that sort of risk aversion. Does sometimes need to be put in check for sure, and that's why you have a
Yeah.
team. But I will definitely kind of go, yeah, guns blazing forward, learn quickly. I think you get to the best outcome faster than 1,000 people offering opinions, because it's death by sort of decision or
Yeah.
indecisiveness.
I suppose like even scientifically, like the only way to know if something's working or not is to go out and try it, and it's not always going to work.
Yeah,
But you're not going to move forward unless you go out and try it. So I suppose
absolutely.
you have to expect that you're going to get a certain amount of failures, and that's not bad. Like that's moving
Yeah.
forward, you know?
Yeah, and the real nice thing for me is that each business I've worked at has got bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's nice because I've been in a space before where it's, if you want to test something, you're testing it. I think we should maybe try this market. Okay, well then I need to go and do 1,000 cold calls, run a load of meetings, try and close those
Yeah.
deals, and that will absolutely be what will happen. But the feedback
Hmm.
loop is so much slower, and each business I've
Hmm.
gone to with more team, more support, more spend, it only gets better because you can very quickly get that feedback loop. We have a team of 6 SDRs, and so we can very quickly go, okay, let's test this market with this approach that's slightly different. Well, within a week, we're going to have a pretty clear view of, are we
Hmm.
getting those early seed signs, or actually is this really not working and we need to pull away. And so I guess that would kind of be my message out there to the people that are in that startup environment, is that you know when you need to do it on your own, you need to do it on your own. But then as you move into that slightly larger environment, it becomes quicker and you can test faster, and you can test more. As opposed to, you don't want to. I want to stick to the same thing
Yeah.
even less here. I want to test even more at once to see how fast we can move forward.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. Um, and also, so this show is all about, I suppose, that place where you find your flow, right? So, um, what would you say are the moments where you are really in the zone and everything is just everything just clicks? And when in your day or work do you feel that the most?
That's a good question. I am a like your archetypal salesperson through and through. I like having a target. I like being in those trenches. I like it for the good and for the bad. And the more
Mm.
you witness the good, the more addictive it becomes, and the more
Yeah,
you can power through those tough quarters. And it's never, again, we just had a record-breaking year, but
yeah,
I can tell you now that probably means 90% of the time was pure stress. 95% of the time was pure stress
yeah,
and
yeah,
worry, and knowing that you just need to stand strong through whatever plan you've put in place for that
mm,
5% winning, and
yeah,
achievement. That is absolutely where I'm in my element. And that used to mean me closing deals, me getting my contract signed, very
yeah,
much a salesperson thing.
yeah,
And over the years, that's become more about kind of twofold with having a team. There is still the point of like, my effect on the business will be larger with the team, which I like. My number can be bigger than I will ever do, and I do get a lot of focus from that. If my attainment on as my on my own was 500,000, but with a team it
hmm,
could be 6-7 million. I do find
yeah,
that more exciting, but more
yeah,
importantly, it's moved to, I have six A's and 6 SDRs, and having those guys hit their number and see them develop and see them achieve, and see us do a coaching session, they implement it, and they you see them, that thing they were struggling with, you see the joy when they tweak it, and then they book the meeting or they close the deal. That's my absolute play. that's where I absolutely sort of, that's not work to me. It might
Yeah.
be good hard graft, but there's never been a day where I'm like, oof, I'm going to work, because that's my excitement. I don't
Yeah.
find fun in sort of like playing video games. Like I could do this all day, 24 hours a day.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's in part probably lucky that I found that thing that does that thing for me.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, again, I'm looking at the guys literally on the phone right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, seeing though, we've got lads that last year struggled to get to 50-60% of their target. We've put some really
Hmm.
good fundamentals in place, and now those guys are in accelerators. They're making massive bonuses. They're walking around with their chest pumped out more than they did last year. That's unbeatable. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's so powerful, I think. Like more than yourself being able to achieve high numbers, you can achieve so much more leveraging a team and that
Absolutely.
skill of being able to kind of build up a team and get them to perform very well is a very powerful thing as well.
Yeah, 100%. And don't wrong, it does come back to that fundamentally selfish point of I hit a point where it was frustrating me how those startups, where it was kind of me operating with support, how slow they would move.
Mm.
Because even if you're
Yeah.
phenomenal, you're still only talking a few million a year if you're phenomenal in the right environment. Whereas, yeah,
Mm.
as soon as you step into a team, if you can make some fundamental changes to those sort of pillars, those foundations, and it's exponential. It just keeps growing and growing and growing far beyond you. I remember to this day the first time my SDR booked a meeting at my first startup where I actually led a team. I can
Mm.
remember, the SDR that I'd hired booking a meeting and the AE closing that deal and it landing on the board, and I had no idea what that deal was. I'd done nothing. That I
Mm.
still remember that feeling of like, holy
Yeah.
crap, it was like 20
Yeah.
grand. We just closed 20 grand. I have no idea what it is. It's through to onboarding, they're cracking on, and I
Yeah.
did nothing. Beautiful, great feeling.
Amazing. Amazing. And you spoke about the good and the bad that comes with sales. I suppose how when things are bad, how do you cope with that, or what do you do to kind of get through those tough times to come out on top?
Yeah, so I think there's probably a few things to it. I think for myself personally, one, I have a very supportive partner. So my partner and I have a 1-year-old son. We've been together for 10 years. She knows me inside out. She knows when it's good, when it's bad. She knows
Yeah.
how I'm going to be at home. Like there's definitely an end of quarter where you're relying on a few deals, and I cannot accept misses. Like they happen, but until they
Mm.
happen, I can't
Mm.
compute that they're going to. I will do literally everything
Yeah.
to not get there,
Yeah.
or to not let that happen. Um, and that can be quite a dark space. That can be a very
Mm.
like that can be a 24-hour a day focus, not sleeping,
Yeah.
like really in that. She's very supportive in that environment. I'm very lucky there. I think
Mm.
you sort of spoke about work and personal. I'm a big sort of training guy. So I've
Mhm.
either boxed or weightlifted or kickboxed for as long as I can remember. And I
Yeah.
often say that's a cheat code. That's an absolute cheat code to being successful. Not
Yeah.
only for the chemical sort of dopamine endorphin rush, but just that hyper focus on something else other than work that is still bettering you is an absolute cheat code. So I'm unbelievably reliant on that. If it
Yeah.
was an end of quarter and I was injured, my word, I have no idea what I would no idea what I would do, because I will only
Yeah.
just lean harder into that training and kind of letting that energy out somewhere. From
Yeah.
like an actual work perspective, I find the longer you do this, the more you have the belief in the fact that you will get there if you do the right things. And if you come
Yeah.
up short and you've done everything you physically can, um, that's not as bad as not getting there because you've not tried. And so if you've gone
Exactly.
all in, balls to the wall, all in, and you do come up short, and as long as you've started to then plan for the next one, how are we going to bounce back? Because a good year, and I say this to the guys all the time, a good year is not 4 good quarters. We all know that. It's probably going to be 2 okay quarters, 1 bad one, and 1 phenomenal one.
Mm.
And so, if it's going to be a slightly short quarter, then that should mean it's going to be a phenomenal second quarter. And so just make sure that we're
Yeah.
not too down in the dumps. Don't have that below the line mentality of, oh, well, it was everyone else's fault. I have no interest in that whatsoever. I'm only
Yeah.
interested in what can we do right now that's going to make this better. Again, if someone comes to me, an AE comes to me and says they're not hit target because they've not had enough leads because the marketing was too slow. That's not a sentence that the team will say to me, because I don't accept that, because you could have picked the phone up 300 more times
Mm.
that week and attempted to build your
Hmm.
own pipeline. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's just about that consistent focus. For me, absolute non-negotiable. You have to be training. You have to be doing something else that's good for your body and healthy. And then yeah, I'm lucky to have supportive family as well.
Yeah, I totally agree in terms of training and looking after your body and fitness, because I also think it teaches you a lot of things that you can apply at work as well, like things like
Absolutely.
discipline and going out of your comfort zone and being consistent. And then it's very similar because you get rewarded for that as well. Like you get
Yeah.
rewarded feeling healthier and noticing a difference to your body, like and the same sort of thing applies to work. So it's kind of a good thing to train your mind almost like for work as
Absolutely.
well. So yeah, I think it's a
100%.
fantastic thing.
Yeah, I think having the, so my son, as soon as he's old enough, will absolutely, multiple sports, but because like you say, it's for the discipline. It's knowing that it teaches that subconscious knowledge that if you want something, you have to work for it. There's no two ways about it. It's not
Yeah,
going to get gifted. If
yeah,
you want that body type, that skill set to be good at that sport, that
mm,
is not going to be gifted. It's not going to come from one quick book you read. It's going to come from the consistent input. It comes back to the first piece. It's going to come from, if you want to be a good boxer, it's not going to be one coaching session with a good boxer. It's going to be going boxing 6 times a
exactly.
week for an hour after
Yeah,
work in the morning. It's going to be that consistent input, that routine, that discipline.
yeah,
I've certainly, I am a combat sports guy, so for me, it's also
mm,
that, as a young egotistical lad, it was good to go kickboxing and boxing and know that someone can always put you back in your box and kind of,
yeah,
have that ego checked is good, I think, for young lads as well. So yeah,
mm,
I can't imagine sort of doing it without that. And then I think
yeah,
it's that performance piece as well. I kind of always reference when I used to box, you're in front of, this is pure fun amateur semi-pro boxing, nothing professional,
yeah,
but you might be in front of a few hundred people, and
mm,
I'm a heavyweight, so you're boxing these massive guys, and
mm,
that was great for me because before I was even really working, I do not get nervous. I don't get nervous to
mm,
go into a board meeting. I don't get nervous to
mhm.
go into a pitch. I don't care if it's for millions of pounds because nothing will make you as nervous as standing there knowing you're going to go fight that 7 foot Polish geezer, that
Yeah,
terrifying man over there. And it was the best
exactly.
thing for me to kind of be like, yeah, if I've done that multiple times,
Yes.
I can sit and have this conversation. I'm probably not going to let that stress me out too much. Again, it was like one of those accidental gifts that now I couldn't be more grateful for.
Yeah, no, totally. Again, it's like building your mindset that your mind is becoming strong enough to deal with other situations that are uncomfortable. And
Yeah,
like you say, compared to like boxing that heavyweight, it's just doesn't compare to that.
pales in
So you'll be
comparison.
able to
Yeah,
get through it, you know. So
absolutely.
no, that's really good. I also wanted to speak about so you've talked about AI as a marketing sidekick. What tools or practices are helping your team stay ahead right now?
I think that's a good question. So we do use it, and I'm always a fan of having a strong tech stack. I don't think, especially in tech sales, you have to enable the sales team. So we use SalesLoft, we use Cognizant, we use LinkedIn. We do use, I think there was a bit of a scarcity, even literally 2 or 3 years ago, for sales guys to use your chat GPTs and your AI models to help you with your research and your messaging. Now there's
Yeah.
a level to where we don't want to just tap out and it should only be
Hmm.
supportive. But I literally remember 2 3 years ago, salespeople obviously using AI because of the speed at which they were getting their research and their prep work done.
Yeah, no, no problem.
Very loud. I'm hoping that's just a test. Is that a test? That's a
Yeah.
bit. I don't know if that is a test. That is a bit long, isn't it?
Okay. Maybe just check.
There we go. There we go. That was a very very long test. Lots of confused faces. Um, but almost being shy because it's like they're being lazy. And I again couldn't disagree
Yeah.
more. If we can be more efficient with our time, so we have something. So
Mm.
I always have something for myself teams of highest value activities. Where are they best spending their time? Well, they're best spending their time
Mm.
closing deals in demos. What's the
Yeah.
second best? Well, it's booking meetings, it's picking the phone
Hmm.
up, it's getting out to events, it's having conversations. If it's not one of those two, it's not highest value activity. So if you can make it more efficient, then please do.
Yes.
Go. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be. I'm not going to be annoyed that you go and use Chat GPT
Mm.
to maybe quickly go through your cadences and just even grammar and check the messaging and you want to scope out some prospecting. Then happy days. Please do go ahead. So we're putting a lot of initiatives into how do we better use AI. I think we're
Yes.
probably quite, I wouldn't go as far as poor, but I wouldn't say that we're absolutely using AI to our best. But we've just released a new
Yes.
AI product at Infinity of called Smart
Yeah.
Outcomes, where we can, automatically understand the intent and outcome of a call. So we're releasing that as a product, but are we really putting it
Mm.
focused internally to use it more? So we do
Mm.
something at this business called OKRs, which is essentially internal initiatives. We've set one to be right. How do we, someone's sole focus is how do we better use AI to be more efficient within the
Mm.
business? So I think we're probably
Okay.
we're probably on the journey, like a lot of businesses are.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it is. It's a new thing and it's growing so fast. So it is like everyone's on this journey. Like there's no perfect way to do it. And as soon as there is a very good way to do it, it's changing again. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
I suppose and then yeah, I suppose like you said, like it's that balance of like not using it as an excuse to kind of not have to do certain quality things, but
Yeah,
using it as a way to enhance the quality things that you're doing. So
absolutely. You know, I what was really sort of eye opening for me was when I stepped into my first leadership position, and you get that title on LinkedIn. Is the if the outreach that was coming to me was it's an education I passed down to the team of, and it comes back to that, like, you could dwell on an email for 30 minutes, and
mm,
if it's not something that, if there's not in the subject, if it doesn't align to one of my immediate problems, I promise I probably won't read that email. I probably won't even go into that email, which is where it does become
yeah,
about that sort of, okay, cool. So I probably don't spend as much time on that messaging, but a little bit more about if I'm really good with my targeting and I get through to the right amount of people, my
mm,
chances increase simply with
yes,
volume if I spent a lot of time on the targeting. Great.
hmm,
The problem with a lot of the AI outreach is people aren't using it to tweak, adjust, educate. People are literally using it to go, I sell this product to these people, hit go bomb.
yeah,
And it's very obvious when that messaging comes through. It's poor, it's untargeted,
yeah,
they don't even fit into your ICP. I'm probably then never going
mm,
to open something from you again because
yeah,
it's a completely out of kilt message. So I do think that some people lean too heavily into it and don't use it properly. For us, it's very supportive. And I think there's probably a lot more room to go with that. But I would never want us to fully automate that process because ultimately sales is still people backing people. And it will always be that way for us.
yeah. Totally. That's all of the questions actually that I had for today. So I just wanted to thank you so much. You've really been incredible. Your journey and insights are really valuable, and I'm sure people are going to find a lot of value from this. So thank you so much for joining.
Pleasure, Carl. I enjoyed it. It was good to meet, good to have a chat. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Appreciate being asked on.
Perfect. I'll see you next time. Bye.
See you later. Cheers, Carl. Bye.